When you sit there and you think about, in this case, 9.7 million pounds of food that we collect on an annual basis that would have gone to the landfill, and instead we are feeding 30,000 households a month with the power of the Yolo County community, with those 1,900 volunteers and these program models and the supporters. It's really remarkable. We actually can address food insecurity.
Hi, I'm Jeff Holden. Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. Our purpose and passion is to highlight a nonprofit organization in each weekly episode, giving that organization an opportunity to tell their story in their words to better inform and educate the respective communities they serve, as well as provide one more tool for them to share their message to constituents and donors. Our goal is to help build stronger communities through shared voices and to both encourage and support the growth of local nonprofit organizations through podcasting. Thanks to our founding partners for their foresight in helping us transform the way conversations start. CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations. Runyon Saltzman Incorporated, RSE, marketing, advertising, and public relations creating integrated communications committed to improving lives. And Western Health Advantage, a full-service healthcare plan for individuals, employer groups, and families. Before the episode begins, I want to take a minute to share that we now have a website where you can sign up to get our weekly email updates on the latest episodes, transcripts to prior episodes, and see what else we have going on. Please be sure to register so you never miss an episode or any other important information we may have to share in the nonprofit space. You can find us now at nonprofpod.com. That's nonprofpod.com. You'll also notice on the website a microphone in the lower right-hand corner. By clicking on it, you'll be able to leave me voicemail messages, maybe a question you'd like me to ask our guests, or just a comment on the program. I may even play your message in an upcoming episode. I look forward to more engagement with you as we continue to grow and better serve our nonprofit community. Thanks. I find what I'm about to share with you so frustrating, even though it's not the first time I've uttered the words on one of our episodes. We've heard about food insecurity over the past year from some of our other guests representing their nonprofits. We've heard the almost incomprehensible numbers of families that use our local food banks. We've even heard distinctions on how those organizations working in the space of food distribution can all look so different, so unique. But back to that number of those using our food bank services. It continues to astound me. And in this case, it's 1 in 3 households. 1 in 3 households in Yolo County that use the Yolo Food Bank, our featured organization this episode. I have the great privilege of speaking with Karen Baker, Executive Director of the organization. Not only is she a powerhouse when it comes to her role in Yolo County, but her resume, if you will, demonstrates her ability to get things done. She's worked in various state positions, including work with Governors Schwarzenegger, Brown, and Newsom. She's led multiple programs for the state and most recently was a program architect for a COVID education program for vulnerable populations. Needless to say, things happen when Karen's involved. You may be wondering, how on earth can there be a food insecurity concern in the middle of some of the richest farmland and growing regions in our state? Well, that's what we'll be discussing, as well as how that issue is being successfully dealt with and what it's going to take to continue to serve the needs of those in Yolo County through the services the Yolo County Food Bank provides. Karen Baker, welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network.
Jeff, you are the best. Thank you so much for having me. This is
Thank
great.
You. I don't know about the best, but I am really happy to have you here. You know, I've had several iterations of our local food banks on the program over the past year, and I'm always amazed at the novelty and the uniqueness of each of the organizations. I don't think we can stress enough the absolute necessity of the food banks in the community, but in the various areas and geographies of the community. So give us a high-level overview of the Yolo Food Bank.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for having me on the program. Yolo Food Bank was started in 1970 by a UC Davis student who decided to set up a gleaning program, picking up, those fruits and vegetables from our farms that could then be provided to those that are food insecure. And so it was established in 1970, and here we are, and it just keeps growing and growing, and we're now serving over 30,000 households on an annual basis.
It's amazing. 54 years ago.
Yeah.
And recognizing the need for food insecurity and doing something about it. We keep thinking we're going to be ending food insecurity, and in fact, it's actually growing.
What's really surprising to most people is they certainly became more aware of food insecurity during COVID, and yet our numbers are much higher than during COVID, right? So economic challenging times obviously caused that uptick. You also had during COVID, a lot of people kind of became more aware of their local food bank, and instead of seeing it just as an emergency kind of source of food, really became a little less shameful, which is good. We don't want people to feel shame. We're here to serve the community, and started going to that food bank to really use it to augment what they need. These are working families in most cases that are accessing this food.
And we brought this up in many of the other discussions. Food insecurity isn't something you notice. Yeah. You don't see it as homelessness. You don't see it as somebody without a vehicle. You don't even see it as somebody without an apartment or a home. But they may not have any food.
That's
Everything
correct.
else looks okay.
It could be the college student that's eating top ramen for every meal, right? It could be, the family members that skip a meal or several meals a day so that their kids can eat. It can be, the working father who doesn't have lunch. So it's all kinds of scenarios. The senior that doesn't eat much on weekends, so there's so many different models that we see of how people struggle with this issue.
And the senior one is the one that really, really pains me, because in some cases we're hearing, medicine or food.
That's right.
And obviously the medicine is life-saving, but food is life-sustaining.
That's right.
You can't not have both.
You can't learn without food. You can't go to work without food. Everything is dependent on the fact that you have, that nutrition going into your body, nutrients, I should say, going into your body so that you can really, function. And that's what makes, supporting food banks wherever you are so important, so vitally important.
Tell us a little bit about who it is you serve today. What does the community look like that the food bank serves?
Well, it's interesting. It's really diverse in Yolo County. You've got everything from college students from Woodland Community College and Sac City College and UC Davis to refugees and immigrants that live in predominantly West Sacramento, also in Davis. You've got farm workers who are working throughout the ag industry and the packing industry throughout, the county. And you're looking at both the Latino community, you're looking at the Punjabi community, a lot of whom come into the packing plants, the tomato packing plants in the summer. You've got families of all types and stripes that are accessing this, and seniors. And you definitely have, the unhoused that are tapping it as well.
We're going to get to the way you serve the community in just a second, but you also happen to have the benefit of all this agriculture right in your backyard.
Yeah.
And something we were talking about just a few minutes before we started was that the food that comes to the food banks geographically is supposed to come from that county.
Correct.
So in Yolo County,
we are lucky.
versus El Dorado
Correct.
County or even Sacramento, they don't have the same access to that food.
Well, we sometimes say of Sacramento that it's the farm to fork capital. I would say it's the fork capital, and that the farm part often comes from Yolo County and other surrounding counties. And I say that with so much respect and appreciation for our farmers. We have probably over 700, 800 farmers in Yolo County alone that are producing products. And so if you're food insecure in Yolo County, you're having an amazing Jim Durst tomato, an organically grown tomato that is also served at some of the finest restaurants, right? So it's kind of interesting that way, right? But the challenge that we face is that people need both shelf-stable food, right? So that rice, those cans of beans, other items, tomato sauce, and then they also need their fresh produce, their dairy, their meat, whatever it is that, they comprise their diet of. You need all of that at your disposal, and depending on what county you're operating in, you have either a lot of access to that or less so. Luckily in Yolo, lots of great rice growers.
Oh, so you've got all the rice, you've got all the vegetables, you've got produce, you have
beautiful.
So much.
We have such a generous farm community. I mean, we are really taken care of by that community. They've embraced the food bank, and they're great supporters. So that's a big asset.
And you also mentioned 30,000 households a month?
A month out of 77,000 households in the total county. A third.
A third of the households in the greater population of Yolo County are using
our food insecure
the Yolo Food Bank
and are tapping our services, which is truly remarkable. When you think about that,
both ways.
Correct. And a lot of people don't realize out of the 58 counties throughout California, all 58 counties, Yolo County, according to PPIC, the Public Policy Institute of California, is 58 out of 58. It is the most food insecure county out of all of them. And so what they do at PPIC is they adjust for things, both pros and cons. Do you have, everything? Are you a food desert? Are you have access to certain housing programs? Both the pro and the con that can change your income. But we're 58 out of 58. That's why you see that really alarming number, and why we are in a process of trying to feed 1 out of every 3 households. Yeah.
Well, and that's households. It's not people. It's the actual household, which is multiples of people. And in some cases, because of the type of population you serve, could be many in a household.
It definitely is. On average, we usually tabulate that as 3 people to a household, because sometimes you might have a senior by themselves, and in another household you could have 10, right? So that's statistically what we've been told to do is just basically assume it's 3 per household.
And the irony in this is you're sitting in the richest agricultural area of the Central Valley, short of going down to Salinas, which is more in the coastal side, and in the highest food insecurity. Oh, the highest. It's
unreal,
amazing,
right?
It is absolutely amazing.
Yes, and we did a recent food access survey that told us of our entire population, 52% of our ag workers are experiencing food insecurity. So the very people that are picking our food, canning our food, packaging our food are the very people that are food insecure, which is just unacceptable to me.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Totally agreed with you.
Yeah.
And incomprehensible.
Yes.
Obviously, you can't eat and pick.
Right.
Rice isn't going to work and certain other things. But,
that's correct. Yeah.
It just to think it's so rich, yet so challenged.
Yeah, it is challenging. And yet really generous in ways that hopefully we'll get to talk about. It's great.
That's coming up next.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the novelty of the distribution points, because you also have multiple distribution points and ways to get the food to the people. So it's not always we have to come to the food bank to pick our food up. You actually deliver in a sense.
Yes, we do. We've got, I think, really exciting programs. We've got a public distribution, which is at 19 sites. And that's either once a month or twice a month. And the calendar is at yolofoodbank.org. You can look it up. And every single day there is some type of destination where you can pick up the food you might need throughout Yolo County. That's one delivery system. Mm-hmm. Separate from the public distributions are the private ones. A lot of food banks ended up running private distribution to both seniors, to immunocompromised. These are, door-to-door deliveries. But they often stopped at the end of COVID. We kept ours going. We saw that as a really important population we need to serve. So we have close to 2,000 seniors that we serve and immune-compromised or people without transportation that are getting that service.
Literally delivered?
Delivered by volunteers to their home.
To the home?
Yes.
I didn't understand
Yeah.
that in
It's
the
pretty wild.
first conversation we had. I didn't realize it was an individual delivery.
It's an individual delivery. And then in some cases that also might go to, let's say, an entire senior apartment complex.
Yes.
So at times it's one delivery, but it might impact 40 individuals, right?
Yeah.
That happen to live in that building. And then third, we have a student farmers market. We've been having this program for years, and this is going into elementary schools and now high schools and distributing produce, fresh produce, 8 to 10 pounds to our youth and teaching them about nutrition and setting it up like a traditional, very cute, free farmers market where you can get that 8 to 10 pounds of fresh produce. And in the high school model, we literally have a chef that is demonstrating a specific dish, like how the heck do you cook a spaghetti squash,
Yes.
right? And make it something that you will love, right? And
I do know, by the way,
Yeah.
my wife loves spaghetti squash, and we have it often.
It's
and
wonderful.
literally with pasta sauce.
It's exactly how we serve it.
Yes.
But what we find is a lot of families, especially with really diverse backgrounds in that county, people have perhaps not even been exposed to a specific, vegetable or fruit. You drop me in India, I will not be familiar.
Correct.
Or in Zimbabwe or wherever you drop me, I will be like, what the heck is this? And how do I consume it, right? And how do I prepare it? So we find having that culinary education for our high school students really important. And also, again, taking away that shame factor. If it's a free, during health class, a free, a student farmers market, they can come, they can pick up their bag of groceries, contribute to the family. It's a great thing. It's a great idea.
Oh, and it's a great way for the students to bring something home with a little bit of excitement from school. And hey, look what I got. Look what I learned today.
Look what I learned, right? That's so true. And then lastly, and this was also because of the study we did, we were able to, in recognizing this really high percentage of ag workers that were food insecure, we were able to set up a brand new program called Cultivo. And this is a program that takes food and drops it off where our farm workers work or live. Because we often find that some of those populations that we really want to reach are unable to have the time to come to one of our distributions, right? They're balancing an unbelievable work schedule, family, etc., can't come to, our distributions. So we go to the farm. And we go to the migrant housing, and we literally set it up. And that's all been made possible because of Sutter Health. I mean, they early investors just said, we want to back an idea like that, and we're really grateful to them for that. But that's the kind of programs that really make a difference.
And we hear Sutter Health so often, and many of the people who sit in that chair that we talk with, just amazing. The amazing contribution they make to our nonprofit community.
They do.
And at high levels.
Yes,
at very high
very
levels.
Much.
We find that partnerships with most of the nonprofits are really significant. And you actually have two, because you've got your food partnerships as well as your community partnerships. You just mentioned one, Sutter. Are there other people that you work with at higher levels? Who do you collaborate most with?
My goodness, there's countless people to name here. First of all, on the corporate side, you've got really, I think, dynamic partners like Bank of America, Sutter, Dignity Health. I could go on and on.
Yeah, and I don't want you to feel that you have to name all of them because somebody will be upset that you forgot them. So I appreciate that.
But it's great.
Yes.
It's great. You've got the Yoshidehi Winton tribe that's always been a great supporter and always there for the food bank.
That's the Cache Creek.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Incredible supporters and really active as our volunteer pool as well. Then you've got supporters that represent probably 76 different grocery outlets or distribution centers. So the Costco's, the Nuggets, the Rayleigh's, Bel Air. You've got endless Target, wonderful companies that are in an agreement with us through our Feeding America partnership, where we go and pick up that recovered grocery goods or non-perishable goods and pick that up from that store. And that's what we then bring back to our warehouse, have our over 1,900 volunteers come help us.
Does that include the drivers for the individual delivery?
Yeah, that's everybody. That's
a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. Yeah, 1,900 that end up sorting the food, doing quality food check, packing it, making it appropriate for whatever distribution method, and then at times delivering it, like in the case of the private deliveries.
Tell us a little bit about the food, because obviously you have most likely the most robust fresh produce of many food banks, unless they're sitting in Salinas, or Monterey. But what about the rest of the food? I know we talk about the quality of food and the expectation for nutrition education and understanding that this is good for you, this isn't good for you. What is it that you serve?
What we find is, first of all, we are kind of left to, I guess, the grace of whatever comes our way via grocery recovery, right? So at times, our load that we might pick up at a Target, 30% of it might be water. That's not going to, from a calorie perspective, do much for a family. It could include, rice-a-roni. It could canned food. It could deli products. Bread, obviously. We get a lot of that. You get a lot of dairy. You get the variety across the board from these major chains, which we're very grateful for. You also get the non-perishables that people forget how important it is, things like cat food and dog food and feminine hygiene products and items that, if I can get it from the food bank through a distribution, I don't have to go out and spend my money on that, right? But what we've recently done in the last 2 years is realize we have to augment this food in order to fill the gaps, either whether that's a gap to make it more culturally appropriate food that's offered. So, I might not get enough pinto beans, black beans, lentils in what I get from, a nugget, but I can go and I can purchase that to augment that.
You just answered the question and say, do you actually then go out and, because I know some of the others as well, purchase to round out the serving for the community.
Correct. And then you've also got different religious traditions, right?
Yeah.
That are really important to be sensitive to, And so are you really, offering the whole bounty of what you need to be offering to really serve that community, And so, we're going to be doing increasingly more and more surveying of our food recipients to find out, are we hitting the mark on that? Because that can often be a reason why people don't reach out to the charitable food system, because they just assume they're going to get a bunch of food that they will not use, right? When I'm really happy and very lucky to say that we do have, we're going to hand you a bag of fresh produce, a bag of shelf-stable, and then dairy, meat, or other products that you can use. Right?
Yeah, something that's even culturally appropriate.
Correct.
And I learned that over the course of the year, too. I was like, really?
Yeah.
We cater to religious or ethnic cultural needs, to your point, so that person does feel comfortable. They don't feel that it's an awkward situation. They're not going to have to eat something that they wouldn't normally eat just to sustain themselves. They can actually enjoy it and feel good about it.
Yeah, it's really so important to do that. Yeah.
We'll be back with more of the conversation with Karen, who's doing such an eloquent job of describing the novelty and uniqueness of the Yolo Food Bank, right after this message from the people who make this program possible. I was in the media business for over 35 years and had the great privilege of working with Runyon Saltzman, RSE, Marketing, Advertising, and Public Relations. We collaborated on many different campaigns, but their commitment to the nonprofit sector hasn't changed since their founder, Gene Runyon, started the agency. Over many years and many campaigns, Runyon Saltzman has been committed to improving lives by tackling California's most challenging issues. Guided by research-informed strategies and insightful, creative solutions, RSE develops innovative communications campaigns that raise awareness, educate, and reduce stigma in diverse communities throughout our state and beyond. To learn more about RSE, visit rs-e.com.
Hello, this is Scott Thomas with Cap Trust in our Sacramento office. I specialize in working with local nonprofits and associations. Annually, we survey private and public nonprofit organizations across the country to better understand challenges they see in today's environment. In our more recent survey, we heard concerns about proper board governance, mission-aligned investment, and how to implement alternative investments. If you would like a copy of the survey or to discuss your organization, Look me up, Scott Thomas at captrust.com.
I'm thrilled to have Western Health Advantage partnering with us as they do so much to support so many nonprofit agencies in our community. As a truly local health plan, you'll find individual and family options, employer options, plans for CalPERS and Medicare Advantage. From medical services to pharmacy, health and wellness support, as well as behavioral health care, Western Health Advantage has a plan that fits what you need. As an employer, for profit or nonprofit business, individual or family, you can find more at westernhealth.com. And on the heels of that comment of purchase requires budget, which requires income.
Yeah.
Let's go there a little bit.
Sure.
How are you funded?
We have a budget of about $5.1 million annually this year. It used to be, like just even 2-3 years ago, that a lot of our money came from government because in the throes of COVID, ARP funds, American Rescue Plan dollars were available. That became a large portion of our budget. And I have to say, communities really responded really robustly as individual donors because I think everyone finally got the importance of the food bank, you know, in meeting the needs of our community. So in our case, those ARP dollars are gone. And so those individual donors, those individuals that can give $10 a month or those people that can give, you know, $1,000 a month, both of those are people that we're always in contact with, trying to get, you know, those locked donations, ideally to become monthly donors, becomes really important to us. So you've got the donor, that donor class. You've got your
community
corporate,
at large individuals.
Yeah, correct.
Yes.
Community at large. You've got, you know, of course, your corporates that have really understood. Our elected officials in Yolo County are phenomenal. They do all that they can to leverage government funds, whether it's what they call CDBG funds in local jurisdictions, whether it's county funds, anything they can are their state funds. Cecilia Aguilar-Curry is incredible and has been really good to the whole food security cause in really representing and trying to get more resources out of Sacramento. So I just have to tell you, we've got phenomenal representation, Doris Matsui, Ami Berra, that really understand kind of the whole food frontier and really are interested in bringing resources from those sources. But if you look at all the government resources and you pack it all in one big pile, it's only 8% of our income.
Oh, boy.
It's simply because there is not a government agency whose mission it is to feed people. The USDA has what they call TFAP, which is an emergency food program that was set up years ago, and it was always set up to be kind of an augmentation, right? Here's a little extra food that we will send this county, and you'll distribute it to families that meet criteria.
Oh, it's actually food they send you. It's not
food
money.
They send you. Well, you order. They they give you options, but then, you know, you select the food, you know, that you would order, but from the USDA. But it's additive. It's that, you know, not more than 8%, and that's when added with all other county and state funds. So
that's just almost an incremental part of the budget. It's not even
it's
$500,000.
tiny.
Right. You got a $5 million. It's not half. Not a $500,000.
You got it.
Yeah.
Jeff,
okay.
I love you because you got it completely. Yeah. It's quite extraordinary.
Yes.
You know? So I mean, that's where you're raising those funds pretty much all the time, or product. You know, in our case, you know, we've got in-kind. We just had a beautiful woodland parade that I participated in, and we handed out mandarin oranges that a mandarin farmer gave to us. Like, you know, like all kinds of wonderful, generous, you know, gifts come our way, thank God. Yeah.
In terms of the other elements of the budget, fundraising, so you've got the community at large, you've got your local contributions, you've got the minuscule amount that comes from the government elements.
Yes.
You do have a couple of fundraising events throughout the year that take place. Tell me a little bit about those.
Okay, we've got such fun events. In the fall each year, go out to Conaway Ranch and throw what's called the Global Rice Fest, which is just a phenomenal festival that celebrates with regional chefs dishes that represent all different cultures. We have amazing music and a cocktail or two.
Yes.
and it's just a great celebration in this beautiful barn Kyriakos Sakopoulos and AKT Development, Conway have all been just wonderful supporters of the food bank for years. And, he's our founding sponsor of this event. Nugget Markets is a really generous donor. You've just got all of these wonderful.
Certainly, the Still family has been involved probably since the beginning.
Oh, Kate and Eric, incredible,
yeah.
Right? They not only have always gotten it from the perspective of donating food. They're one of our biggest food donors, but they're one of our biggest volunteer pools. They're supporting us with special fundraisers like the Global Rice Fest. So we're very grateful.
Isn't it great to see organizations like that do so well over time?
Oh,
knowing they're that committed.
They're that committed. And she's on our board of directors and makes a big difference and impact on our senior staff.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important to have someone with her leadership, her sensibilities, who understands the food industry, understands that community. They're a woodland business that started right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then to see that just expand like they have in their success, it's just great.
So we shifted a little bit. My sidetrack,
sure.
Sorry about that, from the Rice Fest.
Then you also have, in the spring, we have our golf tournament,
okay,
which is always super fun. We have a great time with that. And then in the winter, we have an appreciation event for our food donors, for our volunteers, for our financial donors. And that's just us giving back to the people that give to us. And that's just a great party that we have over at the food bank. And those are really our 3 events. And then it's sprinkled with other, public engagements that we do. But that's the meat of it.
What percentage do they contribute to the total?
All those events
all
totally?
In?
I would say probably 200,000.
Okay.
Yeah. It's an organization that had not traditionally been a big believer in having events. I'm a huge events person. I think it's the way that you get community to get to know each other, connect with each other. And so we've been just building that over time. And so I've only been there 2 years, but I really hope that we keep growing that as a much more significant part of our, income stream.
Well, for 2-year immersion, you are incredibly articulate in the space, which I'm sure happens when you immerse yourself.
You have to. You have to just dive in, just learn everything from everybody.
Right.
You've talked to some of the great food bank, legends. Blake is such a legend, and as are others in this area. Placer's been just phenomenal to us. Contra Costa and Solano, just are great partners in the area. That makes a difference too.
And that's what impresses me as well, that you all do not only communicate, but collaborate to the extent that you can.
Yes.
And share not so much services, but knowledge and intellectual equity and the things that somebody's really doing well and best practices here. And did you think about this? And what about that? And
it's really important. And the California Association of Food Banks, CAFB, plays a really big role in that as well. They bring us all together, and we get to share those best practices, those program ideas, those development and fundraising ideas. That's really important as well.
All right, let's have a little fun.
Okay.
If budget were no object.
Because you're going to give me millions. Is that what you're thinking?
How much do you need? Karen, you got it. What would you do?
I love this about you.
What would you do?
You are insanely generous. I think what I would do is I would build a greenhouse. I would build an ability
I love this.
to consistently produce the food that we need in the variety that we need on an ongoing, permanent basis. That's what I would do.
I have this vision of Soylent Green. It's a whole plant,
right?
Just massive greenhouse.
Wouldn't that be
this
fantastic?
thing would serve the entire population of half the state of California.
Absolutely. I mean, I really feel like we have been so lucky, and I really do say that, to be the recipient of this grocery recovery product. But the truth is, you never know in a given year, given the economy, you don't know, given weather, things that you feel like you have little to no control over. Right? It would be just so great, I think, to be in a position where we can work with farmers and either produce our own. We are starting and work with a few farmers and lease either acreage or have them, plant rows of crops for us. And that way, I can get fresh broccoli every week because I know, Dominic is going to plant it for me, right? And so things like that really make a difference, just being able to have that fresh produce that people are probably most hungry for.
Well, that consistency, too.
Yes.
How neat is that?
Right?
Now, wouldn't it be neat if you have your own farm?
Yeah.
This is my farm. This greenhouse is ours.
Yep.
It serves everybody here in Yolo County, and we will never run out of food because it's controlled.
Correct.
It's a greenhouse.
Correct. Yeah, it would be fabulous. So I want you to pull that off for me.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. I don't think I have enough years left in me to do so. Now, if we come back to reality and you look and assess the organization, what is the greatest need?
I think it is purchasing the food that augments the food that we receive. It's also having money for diesel. I have to spend like $100K on diesel because I've got 17 trucks that I have to go send out throughout the county to go pick up the food, bring the food back, repackage it, then send it out to distributions. I've got fleet expenses like you can't believe.
Yeah, let's
That's
touch
really
on that a little
important.
bit because I don't think people realize not only are you the source of food,
Yes.
and volunteers take it to various places,
Correct.
but you are also the warehouse. You're also a distribution center.
Yeah.
And on and on and on and on.
Yes, we're like the Amazon, right? We're the entity that has to warehouse the product, package it, make sure that it's quality controlled and checked.
Mm-hmm.
We have to take, let's say, if I get what they call a Gaylord, which is a big box of, let's say, apples, I've got to have volunteers that go through that, make sure that they're edible and suitable for human consumption, take apples that are not for humans, but that perhaps hogs could eat, put it in a separate hog farmer bin that we have hog farmers that we provide product to. If there's other product that is so bad that humans can't, animals can't, then we work with the landfill, the Yolo County landfill, and we do composting. So there is literally nothing lost in the process. And what's so smart about that, when you sit there and you think about, in this case, 9.7 million pounds of food that we collect on an annual basis that would have gone to the landfill, and instead we're feeding 30,000 households a month with the power of the Yolo County community, with those 1,900 volunteers and these program models and the supporters. It's really remarkable. We actually can address food insecurity. We're actually not that far off from meeting the total need of those that are food insecure. We just need a few of those greenhouses.
Yes, yeah, right.
Right? And a few more acreage. But I'm honest when I say it's within our grasp, and we're the poorest of the poor.
Yeah.
Right? And when you look at the makeup of other counties, or let's just look at ours, you've got the third that are food insecure. You've got the other third that are probably right on that edge, right? So I have to raise funds with our team from that third that might have some resources, pray that food insecurity is their issue of choice, right?
Yes.
And that our approach, is one that they can back and hopefully get involved with, right? And so that's what the challenge is, and I can only stay in my county.
That's
right?
why if you didn't get there, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
The fundraising efforts are not unlike the food raising efforts in that they're supposed to be indigenous to the county.
Yes.
So you are somewhat bound by the population of Yolo County to support you.
Exactly. And so that means that's why I see events as such an important part of that, because if you want and expect and hope that neighbor will help neighbor, they have to either know the neighbor that is struggling, and maybe they are.
It's not like you raise your hand and say, "I'm a little food insecure. I need some help."
Right. Or you come down to the food bank and you take a tour, and you see that there is a solution that you can be a part of, and that's where we see people get really excited. I can't tell you how important it is to visit those nonprofits that you think might have their hand on the pulse of the solution, because when you go in those doors and you see how people, are approaching this issue, you will know whether it's like, yep, this is spot on, I want to be a part of this. I think people are searching for that. They know there's plenty of problems in the world. It's the question is, where are the solution people out there, and what can I be a part of? And, and in a way that I feel comfortable. Do I want to give my time? Do I want to give my treasure? Do I want to give both? Do I want to give my talents, my strategy? What gifts that I have could be put to work, right?
To the point of maybe a more specific way to say that, I just keep thinking 1 in 3.
Yeah.
The odds are that if 1 in 3 is the case, I know somebody that's benefiting from the Yolo Food Bank. Yes. And if I'm living in the community, how could I not?
Yes.
So I have a direct correlation or relationship with somebody who's benefiting from it. I probably know, and I might be more likely to make a contribution.
Yes.
When you distill it all down, is it really just money? Is it? Yeah, that's probably our number one thing.
The thing that people...
The greatest need.
The greatest need. Yeah, you need
because we're
resources.
talking to people here who are going to hear you.
Absolutely, I appreciate that.
But not everybody's going to be in Yolo County.
It's resources. It is definitely. It's money. It's product. It's a team from your corporation that wants to go do a service
that's
project.
That's what I'm looking for. Got it.
Right?
Okay.
Like it could be anything. We've had companies that have come out, done a service project, and then they get exposed to the Yolo Food Bank, and then they are all of a sudden go, I really like this approach. Then they start working the distributions. Then they go, I want to do more. And then they start, working on the packaging of food. Even we have to package and repackage rice and beans from 25-pound bags down to 2-pound bags. They're sitting there and weighing rice. They're weighing beans. They're getting into that. We have all kinds of great efforts, and then they want to start raising money. Then they want to help us raise money. It's amazing how people have gotten involved and just had a big impact.
Well, even if you have that second third of people, whether they're at the top tier, the middle, or
correct,
wherever they are, all sharing, and everybody just say, hey, just give a few bucks over to the food bank. It's really important because I'm involved, and just that little bit.
That little bit
is a lot.
And I'll tell you, we've got stories that are incredible. I had this.
Do tell.
Well, I had this amazing grandmother that wanted to teach her grandchildren about the importance of giving to others. And she had a plum tree in her backyard, and those kids picked the extra plums that they weren't eating off the plum tree, sold them on the side of the road, and came down to the food bank and gave us a donation. Right? We can either provide the volunteers to pick those plums and provide actual fruit to people, or if you want to teach your kids about the powerful fundraising model, you can, and you can drop off a donation or a product, right? It's so important that we get this next generation ready to understand that they can be a part of the solution, and that's a grandmother that just cared, deeply.
What a beautiful little story. And that I prefer that way because then the kids have to do a little manual labor too, which most kids today don't want to do. If it doesn't come on an app or in a handset, it doesn't work. So they did that, and they saw the benefit of the sales process, which is so important because you have to understand that money drives
absolutely.
everything.
And we've got a new program that we're kind of restarting. We've had harvest programs in the past throughout our entire history, but we have a number of farmers that will have product in the fields that they'll just have to till under because let's say it's a butternut squash that isn't a large one that would be featured.
The thing I see all the time is the pumpkins.
Right. You see the pumpkins
or
the watermelons,
yes.
right? And we can take those. So we grabbed my son went to Jesuit High School, and we grabbed the Black Student Union and had the entire BSU come out and pick all of those butternut squash product that was on one farm, and that was able to make a huge difference to the families that we serve. So, whether you're a Boy Scout or Girl Scout leader, whether you're in a church or temple, there is a way to connect with the Yolo Food Bank. And whether it's you want to be more connected to the food, whether it's more connected to the packing, whether, whatever your angle is, we will work with you to get you plugged in.
You actually went a little too subtle on that. I was going to say, if you really want to work with a food bank that has a relationship with the farms.
Yes, that's true.
Yolo is the most significant in the farm-connected food banks.
I love it.
Regardless of where you come from, right?
It's true. It's true.
What's the best way to get a hold of the organization to learn more about it?
Sure. I appreciate that question. The best is our website, yolofoodbank.org.
Okay. And I will put that in the show notes along with some of your other handles that I got from your assistant.
That's
great.
And
I like on your website, it's sitting behind us for those who aren't looking at us on the YouTube video, but you have these little things that pop up. You know, Susie just donated $250 and Bill donated $400 and $50 from Timmy or whatever it is.
Isn't that clever,
like that.
right?
Yeah, it's very clever.
Yeah, we have an amazing communications and development shop that's led by Maria Segoviano, incredible talent, and
that's all done in-house?
Team, all in-house.
Congratulations!
Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
Yeah, we have a team that has, and very few nonprofits decide to invest in a great creative services manager, great web development. I mean, you're really looking at just top-notch creative that we really care about that. We feel like that's part of the whole curated, you've got to curate a whole community feel. You know, you're turning to a neighbor saying, hey, come be a part of this. I want you to like the way it feels. I want you to understand that this neighbor, and this neighbor is participating. I want you to see the people that you bump into in the store. You know, like that's all part of it, right? And so the aesthetics are actually really important, I think.
You have the university in your backyard, and it just came up as I'm thinking when you were talking about the integration and the sophistication of what you have on staff for your outreach.
Yes.
Do you see influence from those departments from the university as a benefit to the organization?
Absolutely.
Oh, lucky you.
Well, two of our board members, both Jonathan Reyes and Ned Spang from the Mondavi Food and Wine Institute, are on our board. They are phenomenal contributors. We have worked a lot with the farm at UC Davis. We have as a partner, and I meant to mention this earlier, not only do we do our distributions, as you mentioned it and framed it, but we have partner agencies, 68 of them, that come and shop at the Sutter Partner Agency store where they get the product that they need to put product on the shelf at their food pantry, at their
like
church.
Like a church organ, got it.
Correct.
At the school.
At the school, whatever the need might be. And UC Davis has a great pantry that is world-renowned. They're phenomenal at really trying to meet the need of the food insecure on that campus. And so probably 90% of the food at the food pantry comes from the Yolo Food Bank. So, I mean, it's a really important partnership. Chancellor May has been a big supporter and backer of the food bank. That's been phenomenal.
Yeah, I can see that being such a benefit of...
Yeah, it's important.
And even to the point of nutrition and how to integrate maybe some of the courses and the study at the university to the food bank nutrition capabilities with what you've got. Could it be done differently if they were involved examining and all sorts of things?
That's really interesting you bring that up. We're just starting conversations with their nutrition and health professors.
I'm prescient.
You are right on the cutting edge. It's unbelievable.
We did not have this conversation prior.
Conversation.
It's just popping into my head as I'm thinking about all these things.
The partnership, it's complete. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's completely possible. All of this can be
under the greenhouse.
It can be all handled. Yeah. We just need a little coin for that.
That's right.
But in partnerships, we'll make that happen.
To the people who think, food banks, boy, do we have to provide for all those people? Well, the answer is, why would we not when we have the capability?
You have the
stores,
extra food.
The stores are going to expire out and have to discard at some point if it doesn't get used. The crops are going to rot if we don't use it all, so it has to get used. So it's a tremendous service that the food banks provide in a variety of different ways in helping so many different people, because I do hear that. It's like, well, really? I mean, do we – yeah, we get the ones that are really, really Yeah, no, we do, because we have
Right.
this excess. Why would we not take advantage of it to a full 360, as you mentioned?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And
I love
the
the way that you're putting this. I think that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an unbelievable opportunity. I don't know why we wouldn't. Right.
Right.
To your point. Yeah.
Well, every time I talk to a food bank now
Yeah.
or somebody in the food service to the greater good for the community, I'm learning and absorbing, and
Yes.
something else comes up that I didn't think about, or I didn't hear, or I did hear, and it didn't come up in another discussion. And it may benefit that person who has that doubt, or who's thinking, well, do I really want to give to that, or do I need to give to this?
Right.
Well, think about it. It's the oxygen mask in the airplane. What do you do first? You take the oxygen for yourself so that you can take care of everybody else.
That's
Well,
right.
if the parent isn't fed, they can't go to work. They can't help the family.
That's right.
And, it just cascades into a bad situation.
Jeff, you get it.
Fortunately or unfortunately, we
It's
have the benefit of
fantastic.
talking to a lot of
No.
nonprofits. So
It matters that you get it. It matters that we're talking about it with this level of kind of sophistication.
Right.
So rare, do we get the time to really dig into these issues? It's usually, the sound clip that's two minutes.
we
So
get 10 minutes, and that's
yeah.
it. Well, and that's
it's
the
great.
point. It's really the point of
The whole show.
program,
Yeah,
right? It's to just
exactly.
tell these stories so people hear them and they know them and they understand them, and then you get to share them with the people who maybe don't understand it completely. Now you have it.
Yeah.
You don't have to spend the hour with that person.
No, that's right.
Here, I shared it all. It's all right here.
Here it is.
And
Here's
to the benefit
package.
of your donors to hear that you're out there doing your thing, and potential
Yeah.
donors hear it, and on and on and on. So
Yeah,
we can
it's
get
true.
you more, because you're not getting enough from the feds and from the grants from the government side.
We need even more. We need more.
Well, Karen, the logistics of what on the surface seems like a really pretty straightforward organization, it really isn't. I mean, it's monumental. It's incredible. And with all you're doing, all you're moving, all you're collecting, all you're sorting, all you're distributing, and the operation you run, it really is truly amazing. And giving to the people of Yolo County who are food insecure, buffering that from youth students to youth families. 1 in 3 boggles my mind.
Yeah.
30,000 households, 10 million pounds. I know 9.7, I'm going to round it up.
Round it up.
10 million pounds of food
Yes.
is amazing when you think about it. And then you mentioned the diesel and the trucks and the distribution and the warehousing. It's incredible that you can give people that benefit of knowing where the next meal is going to come from with confidence, and that
Yes.
you're there for them. And for those who can't get to you, you're actually delivering. Again, amazing, amazing service that you're providing. So to your team, to your 2,000 volunteers, we love you guys. Thank you for
Aren't they
doing what you're
incredible?
doing
Yes.
and the amazing service you're providing.
Yeah, and I so appreciate that. And I've done my little blurb here with just a big shout out to the staff and the team.
By all means, yes,
it's
you want them
such
to hear
a
this.
seasoned, incredibly talented group of people that think about this every single day. They just wake up and are going to make a difference again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And figure out how to leverage other people that want to do so, whether it's a donor, whether it's a volunteer, whether it's a farmer, whatever it is. That's what they live and they breathe. And I'm just so grateful to have them as part of our team,
Do we address how many of them you have?
42.
42.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a big staff.
Yeah.
That is a big staff.
42 plus the 1900.
Right.
Yeah.
The 1900s, the amazing parts. Again, we get back to the logistics of what these food banks are doing, yours in particular, with all the elements you serve. That's a monumental logistical nightmare from my perspective.
Yeah. Well, and we're considered actually a pretty small food bank, So here we are feeding, 30,000 households. I think Sacramento Food Bank is probably around 250,000,
it's
right?
certainly bigger.
It's a lot larger. It's probably a different percentage of the population,
Yes.
right? So that's where you get into different models that make sense.
And still an
right?
amazingly disappointing percentage, meaning
Yeah.
so high. You just wouldn't
You
expect
can't
it to be
believe
that
it.
high.
That's
Right.
true. It's true.
Well, thanks for all you do.
Yeah, well, thank you for this very much.
Absolutely our pleasure.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If what you heard moved you, please reach out to that organization and do what you can to help. If you like and appreciate what we're doing to support local nonprofits, please give us a positive review, subscribe, and share. If you're a nonprofit with an interest in participating in an episode, you can reach me at jeff@hearmenowstudio.com. If you have a need for the services or products our sponsors offer, please reach out to them. CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations. Runyon Saltzman Incorporated, RSE, marketing, advertising, and public relations, creating integrated communications committed to improving lives. And Western Health Advantage, a full-service healthcare plan for individuals, employer groups, and families. The Nonprofit Podcast Network is a production of, is recorded at, and edited by Hear Me Now Studio.